Number 10. Rats. We begin with the animal that has spent centuries building perhaps the worst reputation in human history, the rat. But here is the twist. Once we exclude diseases, rats suddenly become far less terrifying. There were fewer than 10 direct rat-related deaths across the 6 years from 2018 through 2023. The CDC hides exact totals when a category contains fewer than 10 deaths. So rats and several other rare killers are basically fighting for the bottom of the leaderboard. And direct is the important word. We are talking about someone being bitten or physically injured by a rat, not diseases carried by fleas, contaminated food, or anything else that made medieval Europe extremely unhappy. A trapped or frightened rat can certainly bite, but the average rat is not lurking under your bed, studying your schedule and planning a coordinated attack. So rats win the award for the biggest difference between reputation and modern direct body count. Historically horrifying, absolutely. A major modern predator of Americans, not even close. And the next animal looks infinitely more dangerous. It is an armored ambush predator weighing hundreds of pounds, and somehow it is also near the bottom. Number 9. Alligators and crocodiles. Alligators look like nature designed a bear trap, added legs, and then taught it to swim. They have crushing jaws, a powerful tail, explosive speed over short distances, and absolutely no interest in discussing personal boundaries. Yet direct deaths involving alligators and crocodiles were also fewer than 10 during the same 6-year period. Because both this category and rats fell below 10, their exact order cannot be proven. Think of numbers 10 and 9 as a statistical photo finish among America's rarest direct animal killers. But the larger point is obvious. The animal that looks most like a surviving dinosaur kills far fewer Americans than ordinary animals people encounter every day. Part of that comes down to exposure. Most Americans do not regularly share their workplace, home, or neighborhood with an alligator. Even in alligator country, millions of people live, fish, walk, and boat around the water without experiencing a fatal attack. Problems become more likely when humans approach, feed, or otherwise teach alligators that people might provide food. At that point, the giant reptile is no longer treating humans like distant background scenery. It is treating them like room service. Still, the animal that can ambush prey from the water loses this ranking to something you might meet while wearing flip-flops on vacation. Number 8. Marine animals. At number 8, we have the broad category of marine animals, with 11 direct deaths from 2018 through 2023. That averages fewer than 2 per year. And yes, sharks are included in this general ocean nightmare draw. But death certificates do not always identify the exact species, so the category can also contain other marine animals. Basically, sharks are the celebrity defendant in a group trial. Everyone recognizes the face, even when the official record only says, marine animal. The fear makes sense. Humans are slow, clumsy swimmers with no gills, no armor, and the underwater visibility of someone searching for a phone in a dark bedroom. The second we enter the ocean, we understand that we are no longer in charge. But the actual death total is tiny. Later in this ranking, one familiar land animal will account for 420 deaths, more than 38 times the entire marine animal category. That is the difference between danger and risk. A large shark is enormously dangerous at biting distance, but most Americans spend approximately 0 minutes per year at biting distance from a large shark. They spend thousands of hours around the animals near the top of this countdown. So sharks keep the movies, the dramatic music, and the terrifying fin. The next creature keeps the garage, the basement, and every abandoned shoe you are now reconsidering. Number 7. Venomous spiders. Venomous spiders cause 26 deaths over 6 years, averaging a little more than 4 per year. That is more than marine animals, but nowhere near the spider apocalypse suggested by the average human reaction to finding one in the bathtub. The two best-known medically important American spiders are black widows and brown recluses. Black widow venom can cause intense pain, muscle cramping, sweating, nausea, and other whole-body symptoms. Brown recluse venom can seriously damage skin tissue in severe cases, but fatal outcomes remain extremely rare. Spiders are also not particularly interested in attacking humans. Most bites happen when the spider becomes trapped against someone's skin, touched accidentally, or disturbed inside clothing, gloves, shoes, boxes, or stored materials. The funniest part of spider fear is the mismatch in priorities. A person will spot a spider, climb onto a chair, throw a shoe across the room, miss completely, destroy a lamp, and nearly fall through a table while trying to avoid an animal weighing less than a paperclip. At that point, the human has become the most dangerous creature in the room. Spiders deserve caution, not supernatural status. They are not chasing you, organizing inside the walls, or waiting for you to enter the shower. And their 6-year total is only about half that of a later category containing animals with no venom whatsoever. But first comes the classic desert villain, an animal that bites thousands of Americans every year, while modern medicine keeps almost everyone alive. Number 6. Venomous snakes and lizards. Venomous snakes and lizards caused 30 deaths from 2018 through 2023. That is an average of 5 deaths per year. The number sounds surprisingly low because approximately 7,000 to 8,000 Americans are bitten by venomous snakes every year. That enormous difference between bites and deaths is one of the biggest survival stories on this list. Antivenom, emergency medicine, and rapid hospital treatment have transformed an encounter that can cause terrible injuries into one that the overwhelming majority of patients survive. The main native venomous snakes are rattlesnakes, copperheads, cottonmouths, and coral snakes. Rattlesnakes receive the most dramatic sound effect, but they do not always rattle before striking. Nature apparently decided the warning system should be optional. Snakes also do not need to chase humans. Many bites happen when a snake is stepped on, surprised, accidentally touched, or deliberately approached by someone experiencing an unreasonable amount of confidence. The venom can damage tissue, disrupt blood clotting, affect the nervous system, or cause dangerous swelling, depending on the species. But the most important part of the story is not which snake has the most cinematic venom. It is that thousands of bites produce only around 5 deaths per year. That does not mean a bite is harmless. It remains an emergency, and some survivors experience permanent injuries. It simply means the average American bitten by a venomous snake has something Hollywood characters rarely receive: access to a hospital. And now the ranking gets strange. The next category has no venom, does not receive credit for spreading disease, and still kills almost twice as many people. Number 5. Non-venomous arthropods. Number 5 is perhaps the least glamorous entry in the ranking. Non-venomous insects and other arthropods. They were involved in 54 deaths across 6 years, or approximately 9 per year. This is essentially the official category labeled "a bug was involved, but not one of the venomous ones." It covers direct bites, stings, or other encounters with non-venomous insects and similar invertebrates. And remember, infectious diseases are excluded. Mosquitoes do not receive credit here for transmitting viruses or parasites. Ticks do not receive credit for illnesses they spread. If disease transmission were allowed, the entire countdown would look completely different. This category also reveals an important language trap. Non-venomous does not automatically mean incapable of being involved in a fatal incident. It only means the animal was not classified as injecting venom. The exact mechanism behind each death may involve injury, medical complications, or an existing vulnerability that turned an otherwise minor encounter into something much more serious. It also shows how broad death records can be. Sometimes the certificate identifies an arthropod encounter, but not the exact species, leaving researchers with a category that sounds less like an animal and more like a rejected superhero team. Still, 54 deaths places these creatures above venomous snakes, spiders, marine animals, alligators, and rats. And number 4 is even stranger. A category containing fire ants and venomous caterpillars killed more Americans than snakes and spiders combined. Number 4. Fire ants, venomous caterpillars, and other venomous arthropods. Other venomous arthropods caused 78 deaths from 2018 through 2023. That averages approximately 13 deaths per year. This broad category includes venomous creatures such as certain ants and caterpillars, although the records are not detailed enough to determine exactly how many deaths came from each species. It is nature's miscellaneous draw, except everything inside can sting. Fire ants are a perfect example of why size is a terrible way to judge danger. disturb a mound, and multiple workers can swarm onto the skin and sting. One fire ant is irritating. A colony turns the encounter into a very aggressive group project. Then there are venomous caterpillars, some of which look soft enough to pet. That appearance is an outrageous design decision. Their hairs or spines can deliver venom, producing intense pain and sometimes dangerous whole-body reactions. The most notorious American example is the pus caterpillar, also called an asp, the larva of the southern flannel moth. It resembles a lost piece of fur or a tiny toupee crawling across a leaf. Underneath that fur are venomous spines. Touching one can produce immediate, severe pain that may spread through the affected limb. More serious reactions can include dizziness, breathing difficulty, and other systemic symptoms. This is why "do not touch the mysterious fluffy object" is one of the most underrated outdoor safety rules. Together, this broad category caused more deaths than venomous snakes and venomous spiders combined, 78 compared with 56. And now we reach a statistical cliff. Number 4 has 78 deaths. Number 3 jumps all the way to 420. The top 3 are not rare monsters hidden in distant wilderness. They are animals millions of Americans encounter routinely. Together, they account for more than 85% of all direct animal-related deaths in the study.
Number 3. Dogs. Dogs caused 420 deaths over 6 years, averaging 70 deaths per year.
That number requires some context. The official category is bitten or struck by dog, so it includes more than the stereotypical fatal attack. A dog knocking someone over can also become deadly, particularly when the victim is older, physically vulnerable, or unable to recover from a serious fall. But the biggest reason dogs rank this high is exposure. Dogs live inside homes, sleep beside beds, ride in cars, play in yards, walk through parks, and meet strangers on sidewalks. People hug them, train them, feed them, wrestle with them, and occasionally place their faces directly beside a mouth full of teeth while saying, "Do not worry, he has never done anything before." Most dogs will never kill anyone. This ranking is not evidence that dogs are secretly evil. It is evidence that familiarity creates opportunities. A dangerous wild animal might possess more power, but a familiar domestic animal spends far more time close enough for something to go wrong. Children can be especially vulnerable. CDC guidance notes that children are bitten more often than adults. Their injuries can be more severe, and many bites involving young children happen during normal interactions with familiar dogs. That means "the dog knows us" is not a substitute for supervision. Dogs can also become stressed, frightened, protective, injured, or overwhelmed. Humans sometimes ignore warning behavior because the animal is cute, familiar, or currently wearing a birthday hat. The study also found that fatal dog encounters increased sharply after the COVID-19 pandemic, making dogs one of the more concerning modern trends in the data. Again, the lesson is not to fear every dog. It is to respect the fact that domestication did not uninstall the teeth. And number 2 is even less like a classic predator. It usually does not stalk, chase, or hunt humans. It wins through pure physics. Number 2, cattle, horses, and other large mammals. The broad category, officially called other mammals, caused 458 deaths. That averages approximately 76 fatalities per year. It includes cattle, horses, pigs, raccoons, and other mammals that do not receive their own category. Researchers believe horses and cattle were probably responsible for most of these deaths, which matches occupational data showing how dangerous large farm animals can be. A cow does not need venom. It has body mass. A horse does not need claws. It has hooves, speed, and the ability to launch a human into a completely different section of the property. Large animals can kick, crush, trample, pin someone against a fence, throw a rider, or suddenly change direction, while the human remains fully committed to the original plan. Even a calm animal can react unpredictably when frightened, protecting its young, competing for space, or being moved through a gate, trailer, or enclosure. That is what makes this category so deceptive. Cattle and horses do not look like classic killers. There is no ominous music when a cow enters a field. It is usually just standing there, chewing, with the emotional expression of someone waiting for a delayed bus. But these animals can weigh many times more than the people handling them, and farmers, ranchers, riders, Veterinarians and other workers may spend hours close to them every day, often while feeding, riding, loading, treating, restraining, or moving them. Historical workplace data found cattle responsible for more than half of fatal occupational animal attacks during one multi-year period, with horses ranking second. Once again, exposure defeats spectacle. Very few Americans ever get close enough for a wild bear to attack them. Millions spend time around horses or cattle, often while performing tasks where one unexpected movement can become catastrophic. Number 2 proves that the deadliest animal weapon may simply be mass multiplied by bad timing. But number 1 is the complete opposite. It is tiny, common, and easy to dismiss. It caused nearly 500 deaths, almost 9 times as many as venomous snakes and spiders combined.
Number 1. Bees, wasps, and hornets. The animals responsible for the most direct deaths were hornets, wasps, and bees. They caused 497 fatalities from 2018 through 2023. That is approximately 83 deaths per year, and nearly 1/3 of every direct animal-related fatality in the study. One major danger is not simply the amount of venom inside a single insect. It is the human immune system responding catastrophically to that venom. Anaphylaxis can cause swelling of the face or throat, breathing difficulty, dizziness, a sudden drop in blood pressure, loss of consciousness, and death. It can develop quickly, sometimes before the victim fully understands what is happening. Multiple stings create another danger, especially when someone disturbs a nest or becomes surrounded before escaping. And unlike the animals near the bottom of this ranking, stinging insects are practically everywhere. Gardens, farms, parks, hiking trails, attics, walls, trash cans, picnic tables, outdoor restaurants, open soda cans. You rarely encounter an alligator by accidentally drinking from the wrong container. The study also found that more than 83% of deaths involving hornets, wasps, and bees occurred in males. Whether that reflects greater outdoor and occupational exposure, more attempts to remove nests, or a nationwide refusal to retreat from an insect during a barbecue is difficult to determine. But the difference is enormous. The cruelest part is that some victims may not know they have a dangerous allergy until a severe reaction occurs. People with prescribed emergency epinephrine are advised to use it immediately when anaphylaxis begins and call emergency services, because waiting to see whether the reaction improves can waste critical time. So the winner is not the shark. It is not the bear, snake, spider, or alligator. It is a group of tiny flying insects people routinely wave away with one hand. This is not a declaration of war on everything that buzzes. The overwhelming majority of stings are painful rather than fatal. But when extremely common exposure meets a severe allergy or a large number of stings, the smallest animals in the ranking become the biggest killers. And that is the real pattern behind the entire countdown. The animals killing the most Americans are not necessarily the strongest, fastest, or most aggressive. They are the ones close enough to get the opportunity. The final scoreboard is almost the opposite of a monster movie. Stinging insects are number 1. Large mammals such as cattle and horses are number 2. Dogs are number 3. Together, those 3 categories caused more than 85% of all direct animal-related deaths in the study. Sharks and alligators feel terrifying because they are dramatic. Ordinary encounters create the greater overall risk because they happen constantly. Which entry surprised you the most? Tell us in the comments, leave a like, and subscribe to Wild Wonders for more rankings that prove nature is always stranger than the movies.